Hello, everyone, and the bees are in a club, which consists of an outer part, the crust, and an inner part, the nucleus. In the crust of the club, which is usually 6 to 8 centimeters thick, the bees are very densely packed, close to each other, and sit almost motionless, in the streets and occupy empty cells of the honeycomb. This is where 85 to 95% of all the bees in the family are located. Inside the club, in its nucleus, with a radius of 6 to 8 centimeters, bees are much less common. The queen is also located here. The temperature in the nucleus of the club is approximately 22 to 31 degrees, and in its very center 30 degrees. In the club crust, it is lower. On the surface, it is on average 10 degrees, and at the border between the crust and the nucleus it is 20 to 22 degrees. The club crust gradually passes into the kernel, and there is no clear boundary between them. During normal overwintering, each bee is mainly in the club crust. Here, at a relatively low temperature, bees consume food sparingly. This consumption is 5 to 10 times less than when they were not in the club, randomly placed in the nest. If a bee in the club crust uses up the previously taken food, gets hungry, it very slowly, almost without disturbing other bees, moves from the crust to the club core, where it warms up and consumes warm food, collecting it in the gland. If necessary, some of the bees take part in unsealing the next sections of the honeycomb and preparing it for consumption. In total, a bee stays in the nucleus of the club for 2 to 4 hours, after which it slowly moves to the crust of the club, where it stays for 5 to 7, and sometimes 9 to 10 days until it uses up its food.
This is what all bees do, albeit at different times. The club of bees moves very slowly after the food, first upwards, and then, on low-width frames, along them, from the flight to the back wall. It is very difficult for the club to move towards the nest, and if this happens, it negatively affects the wintering of the bees. For these reasons, when assembling nests, it is necessary to leave only frames with a sufficient amount, 2 kg, of sealed honey in them. Bees, like all other living organisms, need water and air in addition to food. The need for water in winter is mainly satisfied by consuming honey, which is slightly liquefied in the nest in the club, as it absorbs some of the water vapor from the air exhaled by the bees. Bees do not need much air in winter. Usually, there is enough air that passes through the bottom and walls of wooden hives and the hives. Excessive water vapor generated in the metabolic process of bees leaves the nest and, with sufficient ventilation, through a loose ceiling or a hole in it and a small air-permeable insulation in the winter quarters and outside. Insufficient ventilation harms bees. They are forced to artificially increase it by flapping their wings. Under such conditions, thousands of worker bees are sometimes involved in this work. The family makes a lot of noise, and the bees quickly work themselves out. Excessive humidity and dampness appear in the nest, and sometimes honey becomes liquefied, leaks, or sours, which is very harmful to bees. However, excessive ventilation of the nest in winter is also harmful. It causes rapid cooling of the bees in the outer layers of the club crust, which forces them to get inside the club, disturbing other bees. Then other bees outside the club also cool down quickly and move closer to the center of the club, and so on. So, instead of a calm winter, it becomes very restless. With excessive ventilation of the nest, the daily feed consumption by bees increases by 10 to 20 times, they wear out, physiologically age, become equipped and quickly die. The best ventilation in a hive is when, under a given temperature and other conditions in the hibernation area or the wild, bees sit quietly, making the slightest low-toned noise. Under normal wintering conditions, bee feed consumption in December is minimal 0.5 to 1.2 kilograms per month. During winter, bees are kept indoors at a temperature of no more than 0 to 2 degrees Celsius. In all cases, they try to maintain the temperature in the premises or hibernation rooms at which the bees are quieter. They visit the winter quarters every 10 days, 3 to 4 times a month. In families where increased noise or a higher tone is heard during listening, find out the cause and eliminate it. Adjust the size of the open part of the combs and the density of the top insulation, and select conditions under which the bees stop making intense noise and become quiet. When wintering outdoors, bee colonies are also periodically listened to. If necessary, they reduce or increase the size of the open part of the flight. Preparing for the spring and summer season. They make or knock down frames and wire them. Repair hives and make or buy the necessary beekeeping equipment. And that's it for me. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you for watching.